On February 6, 2025, former U.S. President Donald Trump sent shockwaves across the world with a controversial proposal. He announced his plan for the United States to take over the Gaza Strip. This plan, he claimed, would usher in a new era of peace and prosperity for the region. But at what cost? Trump's vision involves a massive displacement of the Palestinian population currently residing in Gaza. He proposes relocating them to neighboring countries. Alternatively, he suggests providing them with a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land elsewhere. This relocation, according to Trump, is necessary to pave the way for his ambitious transformation of Gaza. Trump envisions transforming the war-torn Gaza Strip into a glittering Riviera of the Middle East. He believes that under U.S. ownership, Gaza could become a hub for tourism and investment, attracting jobs and prosperity. However, this vision comes at a steep price for the Palestinians who call Gaza home. The proposal immediately sparked outrage and confusion, with many questioning its legality, feasibility, and ethical implications. The international community, including longtime U.S. allies, expressed deep concern over the plan's potential to further destabilize the region. Even within the United States, Trump's proposal was met with mixed reactions, exposing the deep divisions within the country regarding its role in the Middle East. In the wake of Trump's bombshell announcement, the White House scrambled to clarify the details of the proposed Gaza takeover. However, conflicting statements from administration officials only added to the confusion and fueled further criticism. While Trump spoke of the U.S. owning Gaza and did not rule out the use of American troops, his administration offered a more ambiguous interpretation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, for instance, described the proposed Palestinian displacement as interim or temporary. Other officials attempted to downplay the scale and scope of the plan. They claimed that Trump hadn't made any firm commitments regarding the use of U.S. funds or military personnel. These attempts at clarification, however, did little to quell the growing international backlash. The conflicting messages emanating from the White House exposed a lack of clear strategy and coordination within the Trump administration. This only served to heighten concerns about the potentially disastrous consequences of the proposed Gaza takeover. The absence of a well-defined plan raised serious doubts about the administration's ability to manage such a complex and sensitive undertaking. As the world grappled with the implications of Trump's pronouncements, one thing became abundantly clear. His vision for Gaza was mired in uncertainty and contradicted by his own administration's attempts to explain it. This disconnect between rhetoric and reality would become a hallmark of the Trump administration's approach to foreign policy in the Middle East. Trump's Gaza takeover proposal was met with near-universal condemnation from the international community. Governments, international organizations, and human rights groups all voiced their strong opposition to the plan, highlighting its illegality and potential for catastrophic consequences. In the Middle East, key U.S. allies like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Qatar were quick to reject Trump's proposal. They emphasized the importance of Palestinian self-determination and the need to rebuild Gaza with its current residents. These countries recognized the dangerous precedent that a forced displacement of Palestinians would set, potentially igniting further conflict and instability in the region. European leaders were equally critical. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom condemned the proposed forced displacement as a violation of international law and a major setback to the already fragile peace process. They reiterated their commitment to a two-state solution, recognizing the Palestinians' right to an independent state alongside Israel. The Palestinian Authority, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, denounced the plan as a blatant violation of international law and an attempt to liquidate the Palestinian cause. Hamas, the de facto ruling authority in Gaza, labeled the proposal a recipe for chaos and vowed to resist any attempt at forced displacement. Adding to the chorus of condemnation, the United Nations warned that the forced displacement of Palestinians from Gaza would constitute a grave breach of international law and could amount to a war crime. The UN called on all parties to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law and to protect the rights of civilians. Trump's Gaza takeover plan raised a firestorm of legal and ethical concerns, with experts warning that it would constitute a blatant violation of international law and set a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. The Geneva Conventions, a cornerstone of international humanitarian law, explicitly prohibit the forced deportation or transfer of civilian populations from occupied territory. The International Criminal Court, ICC, defines such acts as war crimes when committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack against a civilian population. Legal scholars argued that Trump's proposal, if implemented, would represent a flagrant violation of these fundamental legal principles. The plan's disregard for Palestinian rights and its reliance on forced displacement as a solution to a complex political conflict drew sharp criticism from human rights organizations worldwide. Beyond the legal ramifications, the ethical implications of Trump's plan are equally troubling. Uprooting millions of Palestinians from their homes and dispossessing them of their land would be a morally reprehensible act, causing immense suffering and exacerbating existing tensions in the region. The international community has a moral and legal obligation to uphold the rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to self-determination and their right to live in peace and security in their own land. Trump's Gaza takeover plan, with its blatant disregard for these fundamental rights, represents a dangerous departure from established international norms and values. Section 5: Political fallout, regional tensions, and domestic backlash. The political fallout from Trump's Gaza takeover plan was immediate and far-reaching, further straining already tense regional dynamics and igniting a firestorm of criticism within the United States. In the Middle East, the plan threatened to derail fragile peace efforts and undermine U.S. credibility as a mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The proposal complicated the already tenuous ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and jeopardized ongoing negotiations for a prisoner exchange. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed interest in Trump's proposal, the plan put a strain on U.S. efforts to normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Arab states, wary of the potential for further instability and violence, were reluctant to embrace a plan that so blatantly dispossessed the Palestinian people. Within the United States, Trump's proposal was met with a mixture of skepticism, outrage, and resignation. While some Republicans expressed cautious support or remained non-committal, Democrats were united in their condemnation, calling the plan crazy, offensive, and insane. The plan further polarized an already deeply divided American public, with many expressing concern about the potential cost in terms of U.S. taxpayer dollars, military involvement, and damage to America's global standing. The lack of consultation with Congress or key allies before announcing such a radical proposal raised serious questions about Trump's judgment and his commitment to diplomacy. To understand the rationale behind Trump's audacious Gaza takeover plan, one must look no further than his background as a real estate mogul. For Trump, the conflict in Gaza presented a unique business opportunity, a chance to apply his deal-making prowess and development experience to a region ripe for transformation. Trump's vision for Gaza was rooted in his belief that rebuilding the war-torn territory would be easier and more profitable without the presence of its current residents. He envisioned a blank slate free from the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where he could build a glittering oasis of resorts, casinos, and luxury residences. This vision, however, betrayed a fundamental misunderstanding of the region's history, culture, and the deep-seated grievances at the heart of the conflict. For Trump, the Palestinians were merely an obstacle to be overcome, a logistical challenge to be addressed in his quest to create his Middle Eastern playground. His plan to relocate millions of Palestinians to neighboring countries, or to an unspecified beautiful piece of land, was not only impractical but also deeply offensive to those whose lives and livelihoods were at stake. It revealed a callous disregard for the human cost of his grand vision. Trump's real estate-driven approach to foreign policy, evident in his dealings with North Korea and his interest in acquiring Greenland, prioritized personal gain and grand gestures over diplomacy, human rights, and the complexities of international relations. His Gaza takeover plan was a stark reminder of the dangers of applying a business mentality to issues of war, peace, and the fate of nations. Trump's Gaza takeover plan was not an isolated incident but rather part of a pattern of controversial and often impractical foreign policy proposals that characterized his presidency. His approach to international affairs was marked by a disregard for international norms, a penchant for unilateral action, and a willingness to entertain ideas that many considered outlandish and dangerous. In 2018, Trump reportedly expressed interest in acquiring Greenland from Denmark, a proposal that was met with bewilderment and amusement from Danish officials. He also floated the idea of reclaiming the Panama Canal, a relic of American imperialism that had been returned to Panama decades earlier. These proposals, like his Gaza plan, reflected Trump's transactional view of the world, and his belief that the United States could use its power to acquire territory or dictate terms to other nations. His approach to North Korea, which involved personal diplomacy and promises of economic development in exchange for denuclearization, also bore striking similarities to his Gaza plan. In both cases, Trump sought to bypass established diplomatic channels and negotiate directly with authoritarian leaders, offering grand bargains and appealing to their personal ambitions. His focus on real estate development as a tool of foreign policy, evident in his proposal to develop North Korea's beaches, was another recurring theme. Trump's Gaza takeover plan, with its echoes of colonialism and its disregard for international law, should be seen within this broader context of his foreign policy pronouncements. It was a stark reminder of his willingness to entertain ideas that many considered beyond the pale and his tendency to prioritize personal gain over global stability. To comprehend the full weight of Trump's proposal and its potential consequences, it is crucial to understand the current state of the Gaza Strip. Years of conflict, blockade, and humanitarian crisis have left Gaza in ruins, its people struggling to survive amidst widespread poverty, unemployment, and a lack of basic necessities. The Gaza Strip, a small coastal enclave home to over 2 million Palestinians, has been under Israeli blockade since 2007. The blockade, coupled with repeated rounds of intense fighting between Israel and Hamas, has crippled Gaza's economy and left its infrastructure in shambles. 2/3 of Gaza's buildings are damaged or destroyed, a testament to the devastating impact of the ongoing conflict. The healthcare system is on the brink of collapse, lacking essential medicines and equipment. The water supply is contaminated, and electricity is scarce, plunging the territory into darkness for hours each day. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire, with the United Nations warning of a looming catastrophe if the blockade is not lifted and aid is not allowed to reach those in need. Yet, amidst these desperate conditions, the Palestinian people of Gaza have shown remarkable resilience, clinging to hope for a better future. Trump's proposal to take over Gaza and displace its Palestinian population would only exacerbate the suffering of a people already enduring unimaginable hardships. It would be a cruel and unjust act, further destabilizing the region and extinguishing any remaining hope for a just and lasting peace. From the moment it was announced, Trump's Gaza takeover plan faced an uphill battle, encountering fierce opposition from the international community, legal experts, and even some within his own administration. The plan's numerous flaws, its disregard for international law, and its potential to ignite further conflict in the region raised serious doubts about its feasibility and long-term viability. The logistical challenges alone of relocating millions of Palestinians are staggering, requiring immense resources, international cooperation, and the consent of the affected populations, none of which seemed likely given the widespread condemnation of the plan. Moreover, the legal and ethical implications of forced displacement are undeniable, potentially exposing the United States to accusations of war crimes and further tarnishing its global reputation. The political fallout from the plan further diminished its chances of success. Alienating key allies in the Middle East, jeopardizing fragile peace efforts, and deepening divisions within the United States all served to undermine the plan's already shaky foundation. Even if Trump had remained in office, it is highly unlikely that he could have mustered the political will or the international support necessary to implement such a controversial and complex undertaking. In the end, Trump's Gaza takeover plan appears destined to be remembered as yet another example of his administration's penchant for grand pronouncements and unrealistic proposals. The plan's failure to gain traction highlights the importance of diplomacy, international cooperation, and a respect for international law in addressing complex global challenges. While Trump's vision for Gaza may have been fueled by a desire to make a bold statement and leave his mark on the Middle East, it ultimately served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of prioritizing personal ambition and short-sighted solutions over the well-being of millions and the pursuit of a just and lasting peace.